Hello, everyone. We are so thrilled to have you here at our latest MAO Live YouTube event. And as you can see, some people are already starting to chime in, but please tell us where you're coming from and say hello. We are really excited to be here. And you may not recognize my background as I am coming to you from Todos Santos, Mexico, where I just wrapped up my fall. My background is I am coming to you from Todos Santos, Mexico, where I just wrapped up my fall. My background is I am coming to you from Todos Santos, Mexico, where I just wrapped up my fall. Okay, hold on. Rachel, do you have your turn off your iPad? Okay, hold on. Rachel, do you have your turn off? Okay, we're having a little feedback issue. Do you have your turn off? Okay, we're having a little feedback issue. Do you have your hello? Okay, we're having a little feedback issue. Do you have your? I don't have anything on. Okay, we're having a little feedback issue. Do you have your? I don't have anything on.
Did your phone?
My phone's on, but it's not on that. Sorry, hang on one second. We're just going to get this. Sorry, hang on one second. We're just going to get this. Sorry, hang on one second. We're just going to get this. This was not happening a second ago. This was not happening a second ago. And now I've lost because that's you told me to unplug this.
You were using that camera?
Yeah.
Oh.
What does that have to do with anything?
I thought you were using the webcam.
I am using the
webcam. You just covered the webcam with this.
Okay, let's see if this is better now. Hello, hello.
That sounds better.
Better?
That's okay. Better.
We apologize. We rehearsed and everything, did not have any of these issues before. But as everyone is coming in and saying hello, please excuse our little glitch. But here we are. So as you can see, we are coming to you from Todos Santos, Mexico, where I just finished my fall mosaic art retreat here. So it doesn't matter. As long as we have the internet, we can come to you from anywhere. So today I'm really excited, even though we're here in Mexico, to share our latest guest with you. Rachel Davies is as well known as a guest as a mosaic artist. And I'm so thrilled, you are so thrilled to share so much with all of you today and that we are able to do this. So I've known Rachel since 2017 when she attended a Rachel Sager workshop at my Santa Barbara School of Mosaic Art. But since then, she has moved back to her home country of Scotland, as many of you know, and has built her business there and has really just gone gangbusters. And we're really excited to talk to her today. So we have a lot to cover. And as you can see, we're already laughing and having a good time. So without further ado, I would love to introduce Rachel Davies. And just before we get started, make sure you stay until the end where Rachel will answer questions when you put them in the chat. And we have a special gift for you. So, Rachel.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yes. All right. Now that we got off to our bumpy start, but we are all here. It's great to have you here. And I'm just going to jump right into the questions, which, as we all would love to know, because many may not, how did you get started in mosaic art?
So I got started when I lived in the States. So I lived in the States between 2012, 2017. And while I was living there, I went to a mosaic exhibition and saw all the mosaics and all the different, things that you could do with mosaic. And I was like, I want to try that. So yeah, then I just kind of experimented, tried with, lots of different techniques and methods and things. I took some classes while I lived in the States and just kind of figured out what I enjoyed using, the kind of mosaics I like making, and it just kind of built from there. But
what was the exhibition in the States?
It was one in Pleasanton that was put on by at the time the the Institute of Mosaic Art in Berkeley, and they'd put on a kind of group exhibition. So it had mosaics from all different styles. So there were kind of some of the traditional kind of grouted, you know, pieces, and then there was the more kind of textural stuff, which kind of, you know, ungrouted, which really kind of drew my eye, with all sort of different, you know, sort of the natural materials and things. And I was like, yeah, I like those ones.
So when you moved back to Scotland, did you know that slate was going to kind of become your material, or how did that all evolve?
So I'd used slate a little bit when I was kind of playing around with various materials when I lived in the States. And at the same time, my mum had been kind of, we both started making mosaics at the same time, and she had been kind of experimenting with some slate as well, because slate is really easy to get hold of in Scotland. So, you know, she'd been playing about with that, and, you know, she'd come and visit and bring me some slate to play with and things. And it wasn't a deliberate, I love this, this is definitely what I'm going to use. It was more of a like, this is easy to get hold of, it's free, I can find, you know, different bits, and let me, you know, and it is a nice material to work with, so let me just kind of play around and see what I can do with it. And, you know, I just really enjoyed using it. And then the more I used it, the more I kind of became known for using it, and it just kind of built up from there. So,
but it's interesting because it really requires different tools than your traditional mosaic materials. How did you learn to figure out that those tools could cleave the slate and all those different things as you were learning how to work with it?
I think I started off just kind of bashing it with a hammer, just to kind of break it up into pieces. That was kind of my first kind of foray into breaking it. And then, yeah, it was kind of like hammer and chisel, like looking at videos online and seeing what the roofers did, you know, the people that work with slate and what tools they used. And yeah, sort of hammer and chisel. And I took a class not long after we moved back to Scotland with Dougal. Yeah. And yeah, learned a few hints and tips from him as well. So yeah, it just kind of
Became your
from
thing.
that. Yeah. And like with kind of cutting up the slate rods, you know, my brother-in-law had a tile saw, so we kind of used that. And
when, so that as you started creating with it, were you making pieces that were in an exhibition, or as you made more and more, what were you doing with your pieces?
So the first ones were just kind of experiments, you know, kind of playing. And I did some kind of local kind of craft fairs, you know, sort of things, and sort of tried sort of selling a few pieces. I did a couple of open studio events, and they went well. And that's kind of what also led into kind of the teaching side of things as well, because at that point people were asking, you know, they like my work, could I teach how to create things like that? And that kind of then
so yeah, that was my next question.
So, yeah, jumping ahead of you.
Because I know that when I taught the first time, you know, I had really no idea what I was getting myself into. And it just sort of, you know, becomes something you get better and better at. But what was your first, you know, kind of step into teaching?
Yeah, we did some. So I ran an open studio with another artist who worked in a different medium, but we did these like have a go sessions, because both of us were interested in teaching but hadn't done any. So we kind of made them very informal, that, you know, if people visiting, they could kind of come and have a go and try things. And that was a nice kind of introduction to teaching people how to do stuff and seeing, you know, how different people approached it, because, you know, you do one thing and then you're like, see someone else doing it, going, oh, I wouldn't have thought about doing that, or didn't expect you to do that. And, you know,
right. Well, so, the beauty of any material, give it to someone and see what they do, you know.
Yeah,
it's never hopefully going to be the same thing with a group of people. So then COVID hits and you really took off with online. And how did that exactly go for you?
Yeah, that kind of changed my whole kind of teaching practice and whole kind of approach to like my business model even. That initially, like, I had to cancel like a whole load of classes. I'm like, I can't teach online. We're going to need the tools and the materials, and how do you do it? And then after a while, I was like, right, I'll give people the materials. I'll send them like kits of materials, and then we'll all work together, so I know everybody's got all the right stuff. So I kind of started that way. So it kind of helped me break into, you know, doing the online teaching. And then I got to a point like, I'm so fed up of putting all the materials together, and lots of people did have their own materials and tools anyway. So I'm like, right, well, I'll do classes and people can bring their own supplies, and then we'll kind of work from there. So it kind of progressed. It sort of started, just a few people. I think the most I had to start off with like 6 people in a class. So it was, very small and easy. And then as, things evolved, I added more and more people. As I say, we didn't use, people provided their own materials. And now loads of people in a class.
And we obviously learned that too with your course at Mosaic Arts Online, because we decided to do that kit free, and people really did still show up with finding the slate or, going to any resources that we offered, and people being able to learn what you were teaching with their own material.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the important things. Like, I think when you're a very beginner, it helps to have materials given to you, but I think knowing one of the skills and kind of as you're developing as an artist is kind of figuring out where you get things from, and rather than having everything kind of given to you on a plate, that, you learn where you can find things and what you need to do with them and how you prepare them. It's all kind of part of the process. So there's definitely a place for kind of kits and being given materials, and certainly attending a class and having everything there. It makes life a lot easier at the start. But I think as you develop, you really need to kind of develop those other skills to find things and do things as well.
Exactly. And, Mosaic Arts Online, I guess, is the best example of that, because we don't do kits for any of our courses, but many of the teachers that teach at Mosaic Arts Online have taught live, obviously including myself, where all the materials are provided. So it is finding that kind of happy medium of people learning that once they learn, even in a live class, they are going to have to provide their own materials if they want to keep moving forward in their own studios. Yeah. So the kit is a beautiful addition that I know you do, and just said yesterday you sent out countless ones. It feels
there's a lot of them, and there's more coming this week as well. So there's a lot going on at the moment.
I think it's a gift that you do, but I'm not so sure how soon Mosaic Arts Online would start that part of a business, because it would be a whole other arm that I don't have yet.
A lot of work,
So on top of that, I mean, it doesn't seem like right away the book came out, but maybe we can talk a little bit about the book and how how did it all start from the very beginning? And I know a big part of it, the book, we both have it here. Mine's down here in Mexico. I actually just finished reading it yesterday and excited to review it. But, I know you have a really big following on Instagram, which is so impressive and so wonderful, but you put so much hard work into growing that audience, because it takes a lot to put a reel up every day. And, it really, it's impressive being someone I know that doesn't have always the time or the patience to do that. And we've hired someone now, so it'll start being more often, but kind of give us from the very beginning how the book even came to be.
So it was a good couple of years ago. The publishers reached out to me, so their kind of commissioning editor kind of got in touch. They were looking to kind of commission a Mosaic book and wondered if I'd be interested in writing a book about mosaics. They'd kind of seen my work and liked, that sort of different from some of the more traditional kind of mosaic things. And so asked me if I'd be interested in writing a book. And I kind of ummed and ahed about it a bit, because, that it felt like quite a big task,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I agreed eventually to do it, and they gave me like a year to write it. So I had kind of plenty of time to kind of figure out. But even before that, I had to kind of put in a proposal. So although, they asked if I'd want to write one, but I still had to kind of write out, a kind of summary of what I wanted to include, what the chapters would be, how I would set it out, some examples of images and things, so that they could sort of really get an idea of how it would look, and if that kind of met what they were looking for.
And did it seem daunting in the beginning? Like, how do I lay this out? How am I going to do this before?
It did a bit. I kind of took the approach that I didn't want to make it a project book. So I didn't want it to be, here's how you do this particular project and here's how you do that particular project, because that's kind of not how I teach anyway. I kind of want to give people the kind of the tools and the skills so they can then go and do their own thing. And so I kind of, in this book, took 2 courses that I'd been teaching kind of live online. One about kind of preparing and working creatively with materials, and another one about creating mosaics inspired by nature, and kind of use those as a basis for kind of the educational part of the book, kind of the teaching part of the book. So, you know, I'd found sort of, the reason I was doing an abstracts created by, inspired by mosaics, was because I'd found a lot of students were struggling to kind of create abstract designs, and looking at patterns and textures in nature is a really nice way of kind of seeing something that's already there and taking that into a mosaic design. So that course I'd run a couple of times, it had gone really well. So yeah, I kind of used that as a theme. And yeah, I kind of made then 3 sections. I kind of knew I wanted, like, if it was going to be a mosaic book, it had to have the basics. So people needed to know about tools, materials, substrates, adhesive, and all those kind of things. So that had to be included. And then there was more kind of the kind of teaching sort of section about, you know, the approach that I take to kind of starting with your inspiration and how you end up with a mosaic at the other end of that, you know, sort of going through the different processes. And then I wanted to kind of have the not project, but kind of illustrations that kind of include some of my work, but talk people through how I put things together. So sort of, here's where I started, here's what happened, here's what went wrong, or here's how I needed to adjust something. So people could see kind of how it's actually put into practice, that it doesn't have to be a, you know, exactly sticking to this process. You can go off in that direction or off in that direction, or take this bit of it if that works for you. And so yeah, I did 3 different projects at the end of the book to kind of illustrate some of that.
And that was what, you know, I was telling Rachel earlier before we went live, how impressed I was as I laid on the couch staring at the ocean yesterday, wrapping it up. And I was just like, page turning. And also just to see, I really loved the artist spotlights, to see the different artists and how their work is, you know, so different, as we all know, but yet everyone has to come to it the same way. There has to be some kind of substrate, there has to be some kind of adhesive and some kind of material. But yet, as we know, as artists, everyone is doing something different. And it's just was really, really a beautiful, and I mean, I looked at it and thought, hell no, there's no way I could sit down and figure out how to put that together and do it. So I really commend you in 1 year, and I know how busy you are with everything else, to be able to do it. And I highly recommend, you know, it's not common nowadays to see tutorial books really coming out, because we all know we live in an online world. So you really do have to kind of knock it out of the park. And you did that visually, and not making it a, like, you know, hobby, you know, like, let's just do A, B, and C. You really put some individuality, and, you know, it is, you know, going to lean into slate, but that's you. So, you know,
yeah, and you say you only can sort of teach what you know. And, you know, I think at the beginning I say, you know, if you want to make like a Roman mosaic, or you want to do something, you know, that's don't read this, because it's not, you know, I think mosaic is so broad that you can't possibly cover everything in one book. So it's like, this is my approach, this is what I do. If you like the kind of style and the work that I make, then this is kind of the book for you. If you're interested in, you know, a different style completely, then, you know, you need something else. But
yeah,
but I think as well, you know, to go back to the artist spotlights, I think, you know, I wanted to kind of include those to kind of show for people who are kind of new to mosaic that, yeah, you know, this is my style and this is the mosaics I make, but look at all the different stuff, you know, that other people can do as well, that can, you know, it's related in some way. You know, there's using natural materials and different things, but so many different approaches and styles and things. So I think it's really nice to have that kind of other bits and see what other people are doing as well.
100%. And something to really think about too is your style, and everyone that you did a spotlight on. all lean into no grouting. Like that's
Mm.
their style, where you go look at some other artists that are very high profile doing other things and they are grouting. So it is so much, even though it could be considered a beginner book in the sense that, you know, you are teaching the very basic skills in the beginning of it, that you're teaching it without grouting. And that's like, it's something for us older Mosaic artists that have been doing this since the 90s. You know, you tell someone no grout, or the people here in my retreat are like, what, we're not going to grout? And you really, it is a different thought process for some that are very new to this.
Yeah. And I think there's a good chapter on adhesive, and all the questions. I get so many questions about adhesive when I share on social media and things, so and from students. So all the questions have all been answered in the book. And I kind of tried to take some really kind of close-up photos of the different techniques and things to use the adhesive, and add tips for like working cleanly, and all these other bits that people struggle with, and put all that knowledge in, so that if you've got the tools and you understand the concepts that you're working with, then you can just kind of go and do your own thing, and pick out whatever bits of nature or whatever inspires you, and still apply the techniques to create your mosaics with.
I know we talked about this yesterday a little bit, and I think it's, even though we've kind of covered the book in a way, but again, in the beginning, did you feel like you had imposter syndrome? Like, am I really the one that should be doing this? And when did you kind of get over that hump and be like, okay, I've got to do this. This is, they've come to me and it's an opportunity to really do something cool.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning, you're like, am I the right person to write? There's so many artists out there, that I've learned from, that have been doing it longer than me. And I think there's also something a bit kind of scarier about committing it to print. If you're teaching and you're just telling somebody something, it doesn't feel as,
yes,
I don't know what the right word is, but certainly it's scarier to kind of have it in print as like, well, it's written there, so suddenly it's kind of like the truth kind of thing.
All right.
Not that I'm making up lies in the book, but it just feels scarier to kind of have it all in print. So there was that kind of initial, do I want to kind of do that? And I might change my mind about something, but yeah, I was like, it's an opportunity, and I just spoke to other people about it, and they were all like, go for it. So yeah, I kind of did it, wrote it. I kind of, at the end, I kind of got to the point where I'd looked at it so much, I just couldn't continue to edit it. You kind of, when you've worked with something so closely, you can't, you've had enough of it, you can't see it anymore properly. So, and at that point, I'm like, it just has to go to the editors, and they can read it all. And if anything doesn't make sense.
Did you hand it off to anybody you knew to give it a look before you gave it to the editors?
Not really. My mum read, I think, maybe the first 2 or 3 chapters, and she was like, yeah, that's all right. But I was too scared or intimidated to give it to anybody whose opinion mattered. not that my mum's opinion doesn't matter, right. But to ask another fellow mosaic artist, I kind of, it felt a bit too scary to ask somebody to do that. Although it probably would have made more sense to at that point, rather than wait until it came out, because obviously it went away, and there was like a year where it all got put together.
Right.
And I kind of forgot for a while, what I'd actually written, or how it, kind of stepped back from it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it came through the door, the actual, advanced copy in the flesh, I couldn't read it for a while. I kind of flicked through and go, oh, it looks pretty, it looks really nice, that's all I need to know. Right. But I didn't actually read anything that I'd written, because I'm like, oh god, now it's there, and what if I've made a mistake, or what, something's wrong? And there was that kind of, you do have those kind of crises of confidence sort of thing. But and then the publisher had asked me for artists that might like to review it, so sort of people who I respected, or are well known, to kind of go, do you want to read my book? And that, again, that was another like, what are they going to think of it? Is it going to be okay? But everybody has been so complimentary and said so many nice things. So I'm now at the point, I'm like, it's okay, people have read it, people like it, or nobody's pointed out anything hideously wrong with it. So yeah, I'm a lot more
yes,
relaxed about it now.
yeah. No, I'm very excited to write my review. So let's segue into, now the book is done and you're ready to kind of get ready for this exhibition that's going to launch the book. You decided to do 100 mosaics in 100 days. And again, the third arm that I don't have yet. How did you add that into your wheelhouse of already your busy schedule and life?
So at that point, when I decided to do the 100 days. So the exhibitions happened. So I kind of coincided with the UK because the book came out in the UK in September. So that the exhibition happened at the same time as that. So the 100 days project I started this year. So I'd already handed in and done the book stuff prior to that. So that was kind of off my plate. There was still some editing to do, but that big project had gone out of the way. And so when I kind of started the 100 days, I'd agreed to do the exhibition. I'd agreed to kind of do the book launch and exhibition. And I kind of knew that I needed something to put on the walls. I'd got, some bigger pieces, but it was quite a big space where I had the exhibition. So I thought if I did the 100 days, that would be a good, a nice project, something small, manageable every day. I didn't set out to do one every single day. I knew that I don't have it in me to do that every day for 100 days. That's like 100 by the time the exhibition, for the exhibition.
Got it. Okay.
So it made it feel a little bit more manageable. And I even kind of said to myself, if I get halfway, that'll be really good. Because honestly, I wasn't sure that I could do 100 because it's such a big number. It's so, so many of them. But I kind of picked the nature theme. So for the 100 days project, I took, an image from nature. I've got so many photos on my camera. I took an image from nature and created a mosaic inspired by that. So it's very much connected to the book. And part of it was kind of like, a really, really intensive illustration, 100 examples of all, the techniques that I talk about in the book, sort of taking this image and doing something with it and different ways, you can go with that image and different interpretations. But I was like, if I can do all these, that would be, not only will it make a nice exhibition, but it's also a really good kind of tag along to the book to kind of go, if you want to learn these techniques, this is the book you need, because this is, all the things that I'm doing is what I've talked about in the book. So, so that's kind of how it came about. I'd kind of agreed to do this exhibition. I saw the challenge, it's an international online challenge. It happens every year. And I thought, yeah, I'll give it a go. But, I thought, I picked the mosaics were like 2.5 by 3.5 inches. They were only small. And I was like, if I pick a small thing, it won't take me very long. But yeah, I just got the pieces got smaller and smaller and smaller. I could have done the same pieces on bigger substrates.
Right.
But there is something nice about, just these little ones and the delicacy of them and all the little pieces. And it also meant, because there's 100 of them, obviously that's a lot of substrates, a lot of materials and things. So working small means there wasn't as many, I didn't need to use as many materials, and I could use up leftovers from other projects and little bits that were lying around. So yeah, it was quite nice to work on that kind of small scale as well.
And it's good. That's good for people to know and hear, because even if it's not going to be 100-day project, it's such a great way to do exercises, to practice, to experiment, to learn how to do any kind of art. It should be that it's done in a way that's less stressful. Yeah.
And I did, like, a lot of them I did thinking they were going to be an exhibition. I wanted them to look good, but there were ones where I did sort of do some experimenting with different techniques and different materials and things, trying things out just to see how they would work. There's definitely ones in the 100 days that I don't like, that in my view, weren't successful. And, at the time I'm like, I should just put this one to the side and make another one instead for that day, because, it's not very pretty, or I don't really like it. But I'm like, that's not the point of it. The point is to do one every day. And some of them will be really nice and some of them might not. And that's just the way that it is. So in the end, I displayed all the ones, and some people like the ones that I don't like. Everybody's opinion's different. So yeah, but it was good for sort of trying out some of those different things as well, and just experimenting, because you do one day, and if that doesn't work, you've got the next day to do, and the next day. It's that kind of
Well,
working
yeah,
with.
and you kind of remember that, oh, that one wasn't good. I'll go in a different direction. But, you know, like you said, you wanted to at least have the collection for what it was.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
let's talk about the membership program, because this exhibition was kind of three-part, right? It was your 100 pieces, the book, and students' work from your membership. And so how did the membership program come about?
So yeah, I've been doing a membership program for nearly 2 years. So at the end of this year, it'll be 2 years. And yeah, I wanted to kind of, I'd been teaching online. I'd had students who kind of came back to me and said, you know, what are you doing next? What's the next class we can take and things. And so yeah, I kind of decided to set up the membership. It kind of, from my business point of view, it meant that I had kind of some recurring revenue coming in. So you know, that was really good. Sort of, it kind of made my income more stable than relying on, you know, selling different bits at different times a year. And so I kind of based the membership around prompts. So every month, like I do a new prompt, and sort of give people the prompt. I give them different ideas of how they could approach it, different things they could do. I do a practical demonstration, you know, how they can put it into practice. And so, yeah, we do that every month. I do like a 90-minute live session where that happens. And the idea is that, you know, people can then take it at whatever stage they're at. So whether they're a beginner and want something very concrete and basic to do, or whether they're kind of more advanced and want an idea that they can then run with and develop on their own, you know, the prompts work really nicely for that. So I'd been doing, you know, running that for a while. And then because I was doing the exhibition and got all this space, I'm like, actually, it'd be really fun to include, you know, work from members, because they share their work online on our community group. But it's always really nice to see things in person as well. You know, mosaics are so much better in person. So, so yeah, I invited them. I gave them a particular prompt, again, connected to nature. There's a conservation project that's running in Scotland about restoring kind of the waterways and the woodlands surrounding the waterways. It's called the Riverwoods Project. And there was a documentary about it. So they watched that and basically had to make a mosaic in response to that. So yeah, it had, again, that nature connection. So it all kind of fitted with the theme of the, you know, the book and the other parts of the exhibition. But yeah, I think there were 60 mosaics in the end that came from members. So I gave them all a kind of particular size. And then I had someone local, one of my students who's also in the membership, she's also a framer. So she made all the frames for me. And we framed all the pieces. So they kind of looked kind of uniform and, you know, looked really nice all together as a kind of collection.
That's amazing. So in your membership, do people lean more into the slate material still, or are you teaching with other materials?
Yeah, I mean, people are drawn, I think, to kind of my work because of the slate and the natural materials, but it's not always slate as such. It can be stone. You know, I include glass and, you know, smalty and other bits and pieces. It depends on the prompt that we're working on more than, you know, it depends what material is appropriate for kind of expressing whatever it is that we're doing. So it's not, you know, every month making a mosaic with slate.
Right.
Some of it, slate's kind of my go-to comfort material.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you know, there is a lot of slate involved, and people do learn how to work with slate, you know, while they're in the membership. But it's not that people have to work with that. People can work with whatever they want, because, as say, you know, we're starting with a prompt, you know, and then people can do with that whatever they want to, with whatever materials they feel comfortable with, or whatever they have access to. Because, you know, I often say, you know, I work with slate because that's what was around, and that was, you know, saying earlier, you know, that's so easy to get hold of here. So that's kind of what I ended up working with. Had I been in a part of the world where that wasn't an option, I could well have gone down a different route and, you know, worked with whatever.
Well, and I think that, yeah, I think that says a lot for really kind of giving you your individuality too, is that you're able to, you know, share something that you've become an expert at, and B, it is all around you. So, there's other people, like we're about to launch the sea glass courses at Mosaic Arts Online, and that's because the artist has a plethora of sea glass all around him. But some people are going to have to access it or resource it in other ways. So, it really does. I think that's a really beautiful thing about it, is you really lean into what's in your environment. And I think that that's a really big deal. But I love also that so many people have, jumped on with you, even if they don't have it around them. And, it is a beautiful material, and you can be very creative with it. And I just love, that's, you're sharing what you're good at, and, using something that's in your environment.
Yeah. But I mean, I love working with slate, but there's so many other kind of cool rocks and other materials to work with as well. And I was kind of trying to emphasize it doesn't have to be slate. It can be other things. And like the 100 Days project, lots of them did have slate in them, but lots of them didn't. It was kind of what other rocks and what other stone and other bits and pieces kind of what works for that project. It's not necessarily materials first. It's kind of what's the project, what do I need, what have I got that's the right color or the right surface or whatever, and then kind of going from there. Sometimes slate's the solution, but
yeah, no, obviously. And I think you and I talked about yesterday that, Mosaic Arts Online has a membership program too, with Foundations and Fundamentals, which is my online courses all bundled together. Plus we go live and different things. But I think they really complement each other, because we don't do prompts. We do more just questions and answers and troubleshooting once a month, so people can come, but they get, an array of way more materials, because you could learn with different materials at Foundations and Fundamentals. But with Rachel, with you, it's more about this, prompt, and really, I think, advancing more with you than not, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's kind of working at wherever you're at as well. There's a library of that covers some of the basics, like how you work with tile adhesive and things like that. But yeah, it's and I think it's kind of, I'm trying to push people to try different things as well, because I think as an artist, it's very easy to kind of get stuck in doing the same thing because it feels comfortable. And you get good at something, you're like, that's what I'm going to do. But actually, to kind of grow and get better, you have to try other things. And sometimes for me, it's as well, some of the prompts are basically things that I'm like, actually, I think I might try this, or I want to have a go at that. So let's all try that this month and see, what happens. And so a lot of the prompts kind of come out of things that I've done. So like last month, we did one relating to one of the techniques, like the 100 days. There were a lot that I used kind of a similar sort of technique for. So I'm like, actually, this worked really nicely. Why don't you all have a go at it this month? And, people put their own spin on it and things. So,
and do you have a private group that they can kind of talk to each other during the month while you're creating?
Yeah. So there's an online group that they can share their work and ask questions and stuff.
That's awesome. I think it's a great way to learn. Yeah, it's a great way to learn. And I think for people to be challenged and, and it's probably not mandatory. I'm sure people come in and out, if not everybody doing every prompt, but
so every so often someone says, oh, I'm really behind, but there isn't, it's not, and I don't expect everybody to do every prompt. It's a lot to do something every month. And keep going every month. When you've got other stuff, there's life and there's other, you may have other projects and things. So it's just whatever the time.
Just really quickly, since one of our students just asked, what would be an example of a prompt? Is it colors? Is it materials? Is it a picture?
Yes, I mean, we've done all sorts of things. So like last month was saying with like the 100 days, the prompt was like fill in the gaps, because one of the techniques that I'd done was kind of take some kind of bigger chunks of whether it was slate or stone, and then kind of filled in the gaps with those to kind of make the andamento flow, either down or across the way or something. But it was a kind of particular technique. So we're like, well, let's try using this technique and see how it works for you. Maybe starting with an image and then doing that. I think the month before we did kind of cityscapes or landscapes. So kind of basically just taking inspiration from, you know, whether you're in a city or rural, and creating some kind of landscape piece. Sometimes it's like specific techniques. So focusing on like, you know, the stoppiamento, the kind of branching and splitting out. We've done kind of prompts about that. We've done kind of more general ones, like we did the Riverwood. So it's just a theme of something, you know, watch this and make something inspired by that. So it really varies. Some quite technical and some are just a bit more kind of theme open based. So
right.
So yeah, there's and they all have handouts that go with them as well. So there's like each month that has a PDF, so people can like download that and keep that, so they can kind of build up a little library of prompts that they can then go back to, you know, and look at, and you know, if they need inspiration later down the line. So
it's awesome. It is definitely a great way to build that muscle. And I think the regularity of it, I was telling that to, you know, my students here in Mexico, that, you know, I say, don't y'all go home and work like 8 hours a day on your mosaics? Because that's what I used to do. And they're like, no, we have real jobs. So I'm like, okay, well, these 5 days are about using your muscle memory. You're going to do the same thing every day for 5 days so that you build up that practice. And that's really where it's at, is that, you know, the practice is in doing something. And so if it's monthly, that's better than nothing. But so many people have so much going on in their lives that I think it's amazing that you offer this kind of schedule. And I think it's a really good way to teach people. And it's commendable with your schedule, because I know that I couldn't add that to my schedule. So I just think it's awesome and such an important tool to teach people.
Yeah, and so I mean, like in fact, our prompt this month is about time, and we've been talking about, you know, the different time, you know, elements that are involved in making mosaic, and how much time each of those takes, and how they can be scheduled into your week, or how you kind of make time, or, you know, making mosaic to a particular you know, time limit. You know, when certainly for the 100 days, for example, when I got near the end, I'm like, I need to get this done, and I've got all these other bits to do, so I've got an hour and I need to make it, and how it kind of really focuses you, and, you know, just sort of different things, you know. So yeah, I think
time hacks are important in all parts of life.
They are, yes.
Yeah, I would be a mess if I didn't have those. So is there any, before I see if anyone has any questions, is there anything else that you wanted to add into the conversation?
I don't think so. I mean, we've covered a lot of stuff. I mean, we've talked a bit about, obviously the book comes out in the States, you know, in a couple of weeks' time. So I know that there's been a lot of kind of American folk that have been waiting for it. So that's
Jerry is going to
about that, but
and Jerry's going to drop right now into the chat, and then we'll also add it to the comment section at YouTube, all of the links you can use to order the book. So if you are not wanting to order from Amazon, Rachel has given you a lot of other options, and you can use any of those. And then, so if you order the book now, you will get it after the 26th, right? If you're here in the States.
Yeah, I think you can put in like a pre-order, and then, you know, they'll ship it so it arrives on publication day. Or hopefully they will. Anyway, I accept no responsibility for that. It's not me that's doing it. I mean, you can order, if you want a signed copy, you have to order that from my website. But I talked about on my to-do list this week is to get some like stickers that people can order. You know, so if you're in the States or wherever, you know, Australia or wherever, and you want a signed copy, you can order like a little sticker from me instead of ordering the whole book, because that makes postage a lot cheaper.
So instead of ordering the book directly from Rachel signed, because then the postage is as much, if not more, than the book, she will send you a sticker of a originally signed sticker that you can then add into.
Put it in your book. You can buy the book for someone else and then put the sticker in the book.
There you go. There you go. And that will be a lot less expensive to have shipped to you. So Jerry's dropping those into the chat right now. And we see a couple questions coming in. And first one's from Charlene, and says, I made my first mosaic after receiving your kit, had a shadow box made for it. What kind of glue do you use to adhere the mosaic to the wooden shadow box?
Oh, a good one. I tend to use like a construction kind of adhesive, one of those that sticks stuff to everything. I can't remember the name for it, but it comes in a cork gun, and it's one of those that it's strong and it holds stuff. I mean, the mosaics and the kits aren't that big, so, but yeah, you want something with a bit of body that will kind of hold onto the thing, and those kind of construction sticks everything to everything kind of adhesives, I kind of feel that they're going to hold them pretty securely.
So like here in the States, maybe like Gorilla Glue for wood, if it's a wooden shadow box. So something really strong, and Gorilla Glue does have good viscosity. So you don't want to use Weld Bond. You don't want to use any of those lighter glues. DAP Quick Seal is another good one because it dries clear. You get the clear drying. That can work as well too. And again, really strong, really good viscosity.
Yeah, just something that's got kind of not the really thin things, like the PVM Weld Bond. You want something with a bit of body that will hold things together. And usually, like if you're looking at adhesives, they'll tell you on the packet what it will stick to what. So you want to make sure that whatever you're using is, made to stick like wood, or made to stick,
Exactly. So one other question from Barbara: do you ever use broken up china, or are you committed to natural materials?
Phrasing committed to natural materials. No, I'll use anything. I don't often use china in my mosaics, but I do sometimes. I tend to, if I use china, kind of chip the glaze off a bit more. Sometimes I find it a bit too shiny. So I kind of will facet it a bit to kind of dull it down a little bit. But some of the shapes in broken china are really cool. And yeah, I do have a box of like, every time something breaks in the house, I kind of keep it to one side and go, yeah, I'll make something with that. So no, I'm not committed to kind of, it must be this material, but I definitely have a preference. I think it's more the kind of more muted, less shiny kind of stuff. I like a little bit of sparkle as well. But yeah, so if there was some china that I liked, I would definitely use it. Yeah.
Well, and I think, you kind of cover this a little bit in the book, the faceting, and you have Kelly Knickerbocker as one of your artist spotlights. And if anyone can take, a piece of china and pretty much alter it into anything but a piece of china, but it's still a piece of china, then it's that. So I think, if someone wants to add that kind of material into mosaic, or your kit, or, get creative between slate and those things, there's ways to alter that shiny specific china. And I mean, that's the thing about mosaic art that's so different than painting and all, the mixed media world, is that you can really take these once looking kind of normal flat subjects or materials, turn them on their side, facet them, beat them up, and make them be something other than what you originally what they were.
Well, they started out, yeah.
So, and that's kind of part of what you cover too, is, some people are going to start cutting slate like they do with the saw, and it's got too many manufactured edges, and nobody wants that. So listen to Rachel, watch Rachel, and you will learn how to make slate anything but smooth and manufactured looking.
Yeah. And I think, you can use, it's going back to that point as well about using what you have, and certainly when people are starting out, broken china is so easy to get hold of, but you can do so much with it, and you can learn so much about making mosaics from using broken china as well. All the skills about working with tile adhesive and playing about with, different, putting them at different angles and creating, different shapes and things with them. You can do all that with china as much as you can with slate. So yeah, I mean,
that's the creativity in mosaic art, is really just taking a material and using it, other than what it presents itself exactly to you.
Yeah. And there's a whole chapter in the book about kind of getting creative with your materials as well, sort of ideas for kind of different ways that you can, cut and play with your materials to get lots of different effects and surface effects and things. So
yes. And so does anyone else have any other questions? We see one more. Can you repeat how to get the signed sticker? So are you going to send out an email of how people can do that?
When they're ready, I need to order some. It's on my to-do list. And I've kind of delayed doing it because I know that like the book hasn't come out in the States yet, but I know it's going to come out soon, so I need to get it done. But yeah, I'm going to put them on my website, so they'll be on my online store when they're ready, and I'll share that. Like I send a newsletter out every Friday, so if you're on my mailing list, you'll get an update, or I'll probably put it on social media as well when they're ready. But yeah, they'll be on my website, so you can buy the sticker, and it won't be very much postage to ship one across if you want. If you want a signed copy, you don't have to have a signed copy. You know, all the content's in the book. But yeah, I know some people like a signed copy, so I'm going to make that available.
Yes. So I can't tell you enough how excited I am to just have this book in my library, and it's full of so much incredible information. And Rachel, you've like knocked it out of the park. I'm really happy for you. Like I said, writing a tutorial kind of book these days is really challenging with what's out there digitally. So it is wonderful to have it at your hands and be able to just get excited to look at the pictures that look phenomenal. And
yeah, I wanted to look nice. I wanted to have some nice pictures in it.
Yeah, no, it's really, really, really incredible. So for those of you that are here, in addition to having the book, you are going to be able to go leaps and bounds in Rachel's, favorite material and how to use them so many different ways, because we're also offering you 15% off her course, Slate Mosaic, and you can use that code SLATE15. There shouldn't be a space between the E and the 15 when you type it in, but this is only till tomorrow at midnight. And Jerry's putting the code into the chat right now. But pop over to Mosaic Arts Online, go to Rachel Davies, and you can do that just in the search bar. You'll find Slate Mosaic, and you can get the course for 15% off, which, as you all know, we do not offer regularly at all, only for those of you that are here. And imagine having the book, having the online course. It's practically like having Rachel standing over you. And
that'd be a bit scary, actually.
well, it might be. I understand. But it's so hard these days when, we all want to be so connected, and we're all figuring out how to do it, obviously digitally. And now having like your heart and soul in this book, which it really shows, is really, really, really awesome. And I'm really happy that we had the opportunity to share this with our MAO community, and you bringing in your followers as well. This has just been an awesome experience. So I'm really thankful that we're here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's just, it's nice to chat and catch up, and sort of just share all the stuff that's been happening. So
yes.
You want to mention her free course?
Oh no, that's not her. And
How to cut slide and shell.
That's Rachel Sager. Jerry was piping in a little information, but that's okay. But there is a free course at Mosaic Arts Online that will show you the difference between what shale and slate is, but that's from Rachel Sager. But you guys can also go over to Rachel's website, which is beautiful and so well done. She has her membership program there that I highly recommend. I also recommend Foundations and Fundamentals. Again, they are both $30 a month, so you can get so much out of them. With them being super complementary to each other. I don't think we really have much of a crossover. So I think both together can be a really complement to each other.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to add?
I don't think so. I was just having a little look through the comments, and just everybody's been saying nice things. So thank you everybody for just being here and saying nice things, and lots of people looking forward to getting the book. I think, and there's people who are in my membership here saying nice things about the membership as well, and people who have visited the exhibition and just saying nice things about the exhibition as well. So. All the 100 days mosaics are also available to kind of view on my website as well. They're all on my website, so you can see kind of the inspiration image and then the mosaic that was made from it. So you can, there's all 100 are on there if you want to scroll your way through them all.
That's great inspiration for people. I think that's awesome. I think
But yeah, I think it's nice to, in the exhibition, I just put them up as they were, you know, just the pieces on the wall, because I think they work really nicely as a collection. But I also think it's really interesting to see that, you know, where it started, and how I'd interpreted, you know, each of the different images. So
that's awesome.
This is the foraging question.
Oh, we have one more question from Rachel Sager. Do you have any crazy foraging stories?
Oh no. Do I don't know if I do. I do less and less foraging these days as well, because I've got so much stuff. I have to kind of say no, I'm not taking anything home. No, not even just little pebbles. I need to stop, you know, because I do have a lot of stuff in my studio now that and I'm not somebody who likes breaking the rules. So like, if there's something that looks cool, but I'm like, actually, you know, it needs to stay there, whether it's a national park or whether it's just like, actually, no, that's, you know, a creature's home or something, then I tend to kind of leave stuff. So I tend to be quite good in terms of when I do take stuff. So sorry, that's a bit boring, and I don't have any crazy foraging stories. But
don't worry, Rachel, she's leaving more for us.
Yeah. Probably when I went with Rachel Sager and Tami's foraging and learning how to be a forager mosaicist.
Up that creek bed we went, and we did do a little bit of foraging in Santa Barbara on that workshop. But any rusty nails, rusty bits, I can't say no to, and I have quite the large collection of them. But it's, you know.
Yeah, I'm really trying to kind of not strip down my studio, but I've got a lot of stuff because I did a lot of in-person teaching and I don't do so much anymore. So I don't need quite as many materials. And as I say, the working small was quite nice, you know, not creating like really big things. And yeah, I've got a lot of things that I've collected over the years, and people give me, you know, stones and things. And that's always really nice. I love receiving like rocks and stones from people because they've already got a story and a connection to them. And so I'm trying not to kind of take on more materials. Like with the 100 days, I kind of just used everything I had. I didn't want to buy anything new for any of that.
God bless the blurry vision behind you, because if anybody knew, that is Rachel's studio behind. And when we did film your intro for your online course at MAO, I remember what you had to go through to find a space to make it beautiful.
I had to find a nice space behind me.
You all have to know that what Rachel does in her limited space is truly phenomenal. And it really is. Rachel works out of her home, and it is one space, right?
Technically, I mean, I've got one room in here which is meant to be my, you know, and I mean, it's a decent sized room. I've just filled it with stuff. But there is a conservatory in the house as well that's got really good light. So in the warmer months, because it doesn't have heating in it, so in the warmer months, I kind of have some stuff in there as well. So I've kind of spread over there. But
and that was the one we had to worry about the sound too when you were filming, because the rain can really
in the conservatory the rain bangs on the window.
yes. So again, it's commendable that you do what you do in your space. So
blurry backgrounds, and on Zoom I have like a photograph of mosaics, so that's all fine. So I don't actually have to kind of show everybody all the mess that's in here. But
exactly. Well, I can't thank you enough for being here. Thank you so much, Rachel. Everyone go out and get her book ASAP, however you want. It sounds like some people have actually had it shipped from the UK and it came very quickly. And I promise it will be a page turner that you'll keep and reuse. So thank you again, Rachel. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Tami. Thanks for having me. And thanks everyone for coming along. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you, guys. We'll see you soon for another live coming to you when we schedule it.
Thanks, everyone.